Yo, what's up people? Hope you're well. Today we're going to be looking at how to make collage animations step by step inside of After Effects. Collage animations are an animation technique that not only are super unique, but pretty much everyone loves. Even companies and corporations use them in their adverts. As always, if you'd like free editing assets and to join a community full of like-minded editors, you can join my Discord server, linked in the pinned comment. Last video, I got a comment asking me to go through more of my thought process and planning throughout these videos, so that's what I'm going to do. So firstly, I always make storyboards for my animations. Please excuse my terrible drawing. If you struggle with thinking of new ideas, just steal like an artist. You can use Pinterest for this. Next, find your assets. I just use Google for this. You can use anything else, it doesn't matter, as long as you can get high quality images. And for textures, I'm going to be using this dot and grid texture. I get all mine off of Texture Labs, which I will link in the description. And lastly, the colors I'm going to be using for this collage animation are yellows and deep reds, along with a white background. As usual, we're going to start off creating a new composition. The width's going to be 1920 and the height's going to be 1080p. You can make it whatever you want, and I'm just going to call this scene 1. Then I'm going to make the duration 10 seconds long. Just enter and then create a new folder, one called comps, one called assets. And drag scene 1 into the comps folder. And if you want to follow along with me and get access to any project file, including this one, or simply support me, you can join my Patreon, which will be linked in the description below. Alright, getting into the tutorial, first thing we're going to do, come to this shape tool, and we're going to click it, and then make the color white, and then double click on the rectangle to fill the composition. We're just going to name this BG for background, and then we are going to drag our assets in for scene 1. Okay, so once you've dragged in all of your assets, you're going to hide them and then name them. Select them one by one. And this one was grid paper. And make sure you drag them all into the assets folder. And then I'm going to take the bus layer and I'm going to mask out the shell of the bus, making sure to cut out the windows and also mask out the tires. Okay, to actually start masking the bus layer, press G on your keyboard or simply come up to this little pen tool here and click. Then make sure your bus layer is selected. I'm going to start here and then just roughly come around with a mask, making sure everything's fine. And then if you come up to a curve like this, quickly I'll make the mask a easier color to see. If you come up to a curve like this, you can hold Alt on your keyboard and click on the point you've just made to bring up the Bezier handles, which will allow you to curve round. Then you can just add a mask there. So following along, Bezier it a bit more, move it a bit along, need another point here. Down. Sweet. I'm just gonna mask along the top of the bus. Doesn't have to be perfect. Obviously, if you were doing this for a project or for yourself or client work, you'd be taking a lot more time on masking. You can always zoom in as well. And then, like that. Just gonna go around like this. Holding Alt on your keyboard and clicking to make a Bezier point again. Like that, awesome. Go down. Then along here. Then like this. Like that. Okay, so now you've masked around the shell of the bus, we're going to get rid of these windows. So what I'm going to do is just come here. Make sure the bus layer is selected again. Do the rough shape of the window. And then going to hold Alt on our keyboard and click and make this Bezier because it's a curve. Lift up each or move each side so it's actually in the window. And then I'm going to press M on the keyboard with the layer selected. And you see where the mask 2 you've made, you can make it subtract, which will get rid of whatever's inside of the mask. And then for this one, we should be able to copy it. So I'm going to click on the mask 2 and Control D and then double click the mask and just hold shift and click and drag it along. And then we can just expand it on each side to make it fit this window as well. Sweet. Awesome. And then obviously for this window it's a different shape, so we're just going to create a new mask, do that all again. Okay, so after copying the process over and over again, you should be left with this. And we are going to duplicate the bus layer twice. We are simply going to press M on our keyboard and then just delete all of the masks by pressing Ctrl A and then just Ctrl X to delete them. Then hit this little circle icon or this little box to solo it so you only see this layer. And we're just going to rename this to back wheel. Okay, so now we're going to come up to here. With the back wheel layer soloed, we're going to come up to the shape layers, hold mouse 1, and then select the ellipse tool. And then holding shift on our keyboard, we are just going to roughly make the shape of the tire. Ooh. Make sure the bus layer is selected. Roughly make the shape, and we're going to double click on one of the points. Put it in the center and then hold Control Shift and Alt on our keyboard and drag it out. And then like that. Should be a decent shape. Just going to move the bottom point down a little. And then we are going to right click on the layer, transform, and then center the anchor point. So that way we can have it move like a car tire would. And then I'm going to unsolo that layer and then come to the front wheel layer. Make sure to solo that one. And then come to all of our masks, Control A, Control X, and get the ellipse tool again. And then just shift, holding shift, drag outwards, double click on a point, put it in the center, Control Shift and Alt, expand it, a little bit down, have a look, move it a little bit to the left. A tiny bit of the road on the bottom, so I'm going to move that. Then right click, transform, center anchor point, and then now you have the front wheel. You can scale it up and position it how you want, so I'm just going to select both layers and then press S on our keyboard and drag up the scale, then put it below the bus shell and make sure the front tire is there. That's good. Maybe I think that's a little bit too big, so I'm going to scale it down a little bit to 107, and like that, and then the back tire also like that. Awesome. And then now we are going to select all of our bus layers and position it a little bit up. And then to make the actual bus tires move, we're going to press R on our keyboard with both of the wheel layers selected, and then animate the rotation from 0 all the way to 1. And then that will be a full rotation. And what we're going to do, hold Alt on our keyboard, click on the rotation, and we're going to type loop out, and then right click, copy expression, and that, and then we should have the tires just infinitely rolling. They're a bit slow at the moment, so I'm going to select both of all of our keyframes, then hold Alt on our keyboard, and just click and drag inwards, and then that should be faster, maybe even like this. I think something even a little bit faster there. Should be good. Maybe slower. That'd be good. Okay, on the bus shell layer, we are going to press P on our keyboard to bring up the position, and then we are going to animate it and then move it along a little bit, and then have this go downwards a tiny bit, and then it will go back up to the original point, and we are going to drag it inwards again and right click, keyframe assistant, easy ease. And then we're going to hold Alt on our keyboard again to bring up the expression window. We're just going to simply type up loop out again, and then this will have a nice little bounce. Ooh. make sure to include ping pong in the middle. And then it will go up and down pretty slow. So we're going to select our keyframes and then drag them inwards again. Nice. I think it goes a little bit low down. So I'm just going to move upwards a little bit. Okay, now with this concrete texture, we're just going to scale it downwards. And then we are going to come to our shape tool again. Go to the rectangle. I'm going to change the color to like a deep red. And we are just going to create a new shape with it. So we're going to create a shape that's pretty long. Maybe something like this. Just like a long rectangle. And then center the anchor point again. Then we're just going to name this the concrete mat. And then with the concrete texture below it, we're going to come to this track matte layer. And if you don't see that, it will be toggle switches and modes. And then alpha matte. And then we're going to hit toggle switches and modes again. And we're going to 3D both of them. And we are going to parent the concrete texture to the shape, which is just this squiggly little parent tool. Then right click on press R on your keyboard on the concrete mat. And then we're going to have it flip like that to be a path. I think -62 is what I did. And then, or 63. And then we're just going to drag it down. And then select both layers and put it below the bus. Okay, to animate this concrete texture in now, I'm just going to make the bus layers invisible. And I'm going to come to the mat, go drop down contents, rectangle path. Then I'm going to right click the rectangle path and click convert to a Bezier path. So now this means we can see the points and we can move it however we want. So I can select these 2 points and move it out. I'm going to come to the path and I'm just going to click animate on the path. I'm setting path a lot. I'm going to move the original anchor point along, and then with the keyframe at the start, I'm going to press G on our keyboard and click on the corner and select both of them and just drag this all the way to the start. So it looks like it comes out like this, kind of like a rolling road. And then what I'm going to do is right click on the path, keyframe assistant, easy ease. And then I'm going to select this point and drag it all the way inwards like that. And then what I'm going to do is press P on my keyboard, animate the position, press U to bring up the other keyframes, put the ending keyframe there, and then just have it drag off screen. Should be about there. And then I'm going to right click again, keyframe assistant, easy ease, and we're just going to do the same graph. If you see this, which is quite overwhelming, you're going to right click and go edit speed graph, and that will come up like that. And it should look like this. Now for the next path of the ground, we're going to take the grid paper we had, just scale it down to however you want, and I'm going to come to the rectangle tool again, and I'm going to make a new mat. So just doing this, I think that's good shape. Then I'm going to toggle switches and modes, go to the grid paper and alpha mat it. Make sure it's centered. Okay, and we're just going to call this grid mat. And then parent the paper, the grid paper, to the mat. So when you move the mat, the paper follows with it. Toggle switches and modes again. We're going to both 3D these layers again. Then with the grid mat selected, you're going to press R on your keyboard and then make it -63 again. Then put it over here. I think I should make it a little bit more. So like that maybe. With all that done, I'm going to select the grid mat and press P on our keyboard. Bring up the position. Click for the keyframe and then go to the start. Then just drag it off screen. Then right click, keyframe assistant, easy ease, graph editor. And then copy the graph we did before so we're really sharp like L. And it should come out. We're going to have the grid paper come out first and then followed by the concrete texture. So I'm just going to drag it above and then move it along a little bit. So it should come out like this. Nice. With the ground done now, we are going to select the bus shell layer, and we are going to right click, new, create a new null object, drag it up, and then we're going to call this the bus controller. So this is going to be just for the shell, so not the wheels. You can keep those hidden for now. And then we're going to pick whip the bus controller, the bus layer to the bus controller, so it's parented, and then it's going to come out really fast, so it's going to be like a cartoon fly, so it's going to go up, peak, tilt a little, and then come down again. So we're going to animate the position. This is going to be the ending keyframe. I'm also going to have it come out later, so when the layers are like almost, when the paths almost like come out, just as it's about to finish coming out here, I'm going to select all of our bus layers and just drag them along to here. So move that point over to about there, and then have it come out. Have it pop up from about here. It will make sense in a second while you do this. Then we're going to right click, keyframe assistant, easy ease, graph edit it, and drag it so it's like this. It will come out like that. And then we're going to Control C this last keyframe, and then Control V it. So about here, and then this point, we're going to have it fly up really high. And then now if you watch, it will look really odd. So what we're going to do, we're going to highlight all of our points, right click, keyframe interpolation, come to this part where it says auto Bezier, and change it to linear. So let's now have a look at it. So it's much more fluid and less, insanely quick. So we're going to select these 2 points, go to the graph editor again. We're just going to have this graph like that. So it'll make sense in a second while you do this. So most of the movement is going to come from the rotation we do. So then I'm going to press R on our keyboard, click the point, press U on our keyboard, and then to here, it's going to be about -4, I think will be good. And then copy it again, and then here will be like 1 maybe. And then over here, a little bit further along, will be 0. I'm going to right click the rotation here and do easy ease again. And then the graph we're going to do is a little bit different. So we're going to come to the graph editor, and we are going to get this point here, drag it all the way along, then select this point to the right and drag this bit all the way in. And then for this last bit, we're going to do like a hill, almost like a mountain. So we're just going to drag each point roughly evenly to the center, making sure it's a little bit sharper like that. And then we can have a look at what we've done. So it comes out very cartoonish. I think I'm going to make it faster. So I'm going to select all of my keyframes, hold Alt on our keyboard, click the last one, and just drag them in. So it comes out like that. Cool. Now with the bus shell done, we're just going to do the same for the wheels. So I'm going to make them visible again, select both of them, holding Control and clicking, then press P on our keyboard, animate it, and then we are going to have it end. I think if we do it in the same points as the shell, it should line up nicely. Okay, and then so these are going to be the ending keyframes. So have them there, and then have them start down here. So that one start down there, and then the bus layer. Okay, and now we're going to highlight them, right click, keyframe assistant, easy ease, and then we're going to make it really sharp. We're going to select both points and just drag. Now you'll see it's now faster than the bus layer. So what we're going to do is we're going to roughly out of sync it. So it's like that. I think maybe a little bit less. I'm going to move the bus shell a little bit up because I think it comes out a bit. Okay, and then move the tires a little bit. Then we're going to copy these keyframes again. So copy, paste, and then these are going to be a little bit higher. So with these, we're going to select them, and then we're going to increase the Y axis, so they're going to come up a little bit. Then we're going to select them all again, right click, keyframe interpolation, and make them linear again. So it's going to come up high and then come down. We are going to come to the graph editor, make sure both layers are selected, and we're just going to make this a regular graph. Just like that. Okay, so a slight change I'm going to make is I'm going to have the tires come off screen. So this extra distance is going to make it so the tires aren't as like cutting into it as much. So have it like that. I think they're almost a bit slow. So I'm going to line them up again. See if that makes it any better. Sweet. I think that's better. Then I'm going to select all of our keyframes and then hold Alt and then click them in a bit because I want it to be a bit faster. Awesome. So that's the bus pretty much done now. Now we're going to come to our shape tool and we're going to make the fill color FFCC00 for a nice yellow. And then we're going to have the rectangle tool selected. Holding shift on our keyboard, we are just going to make a nice rectangle shape. I'm going to right click, transform, center the anchor point. I'm just going to name this yellow square. And we're going to put this right at the bottom behind the bus layer. So we're going to have it start here, and I'm going to move the shape layer to start at our playhead. Press S on our keyboard, animate the scale. It's going to go from 0 to 100. We're going to right click, keyframe assistant, easy ease. Then we're going to graph edit it as always. And then we're going to make it really sharp, but then we are going to right click and go to edit value graph. And it will just change the shape of the graph. It's the same thing, just looks different. We're going to hold control on our keyboard, come to roughly the center. And we're going to click and create a new point. And we're just going to hold, click and shift and then drag upwards until you see it pops over this line. So now if we look really closely, you see how it gets bigger and then smaller. After the yellow square, we're going to come up to the shape tool, hold and click and go to the star tool, and then go to fill, and we're going to make the color B0000. So boo. And then click and it's a nice deep red, and we're going to hold shift and drag out again to make a nice shape, a star. I'm going to right click, transform, as always, center the anchor point. We're going to just name this red star. And then going to polystar path, and we're going to make it 19 or 16 to 19. I'll do 16 here. And then what we're going to do is press R on our keyboard, click the animate button. Then we're just going to go all the way to the end. So it's about 5 seconds. I'll make this one. Press N on our keyboard to trim the play area. So it'll stop playing here. Going to right click, trim comp work path. Then we're going to have it end here at 1. So this is just going to rotate through the whole scene. And then I'm just going to position this where I want it. It's going to be down here and make it behind the grid layer. It'll be there. And we are also just going to do the scale up. So as it comes up, we're going to have the star to start come out. So I'm going to drag that to the playhead. We're basically just going to do the same scale that we did on the yellow one. So we can actually just copy it and paste it on here. So now this is what we have so far. Almost done on this first scene. So I'm going to come up to the coin, make it visible, and then scale it down, solo it. We're just going to roughly mask around it again. So press G on your keyboard again. Okay, now we're going to right click, transform, center the anchor point. Now we have our coin. I'm going to unsolo it. I'm going to put this behind literally everything. I'm going to scale it down to maybe 40, maybe even 30. Let's scale it down to 30. And then we're going to have it start off screen. So start here. I'm just going to press P and hold shift and then R on our keyboard. And we're going to hold and click both, animate both of them. So that's going to be the start, and we're going to come to the last point, and we're just going to hold shift and click and drag it all the way along, and then have it rotate to 1. So if you have a look at it, it'll be a bit slow, so we're just going to keyframe assistant and ease it. Okay, I think it's a bit low down on the path, so what I'm going to do is simply drag my playhead onto one of the position points, and I'm just going to click it and then hold shift and click and drag it up. So now it's a little bit high, so we can do it down a little bit again. Okay, I still think it's a little slow, so what I'm going to do is simply select all of my keyframes and then hold Alt and drag inwards. And then I'm just going to have it end here. So it's going to start a little bit later. Finally, we're like 2 things away from finishing this scene. So what I'm going to do is press G on our keyboard, click fill and then none. We'll come over to the stroke and make it black. And then have the pixel size as 1. And then we're just going to make a random squiggle. So I'm going to have it start about here, then here, and then maybe a little bit up, and then like that, and then that, and then that. And hold Alt and click on the points. Okay. Making sure everything is straight. And then we're just going to name this Scribble. Drag it below everything. And make sure it's on 1. And then I'm going to add a trim paths. And then come down to the end. And then animate the end. So come to halfway through. Have the 100 and then have it start at 0. Right click. Easy ease. And then we can solo it. And then make it transparent and see how fast it is. I think we should make it a little bit quicker. So I'm going to press U, select the points, and then edit speed graph. And come to here. I think it should be a little bit quicker. We're going to have it start about 1 second in as well. So like that. Then hold Alt. Okay, I think I'm also going to increase the scale of it a little bit. Just like that. Okay, now finally, the last thing we're going to do is add the source, which is probably everyone's favorite part. So we are going to create 2 adjustment layers. So hold Control, Alt, and Y, and press that twice. We're going to call this one FX, and we're going to call this one FPS. And then we're going to go on the FPS layer, and we're going to type up posterized time, as always. And we are going to make it 12. And for the FX, we're going to type transform. Add that, and then go 100.5, and then go to the position. Hold Alt and click. And we're going to type posterized time 3. Then wiggle 222, 1. And that'll add a nice camera shake. The next effect we're going to look up is noise. Make that 10. Make sure the use color noise is off. And then we're going to add chromatic aberration. This is quick chromatic aberration. It's a free plugin. I will link it in the description below. And I did use it in my last tutorial as well. So we're going to make the position 1. You could probably even keep it about 0.5. It depends how much you want, obviously. You can do however much you want. And then we're going to type up sharpen. Then we're going to add sharpen right at the bottom at 15. Then now you have a nice crisp animation. And then finally, you can add dots, the dots texture that I was talking about. Scale it down to however much you want. And toggle switches and modes. And we're going to make it soft light. And you can see dot texture is all there. Or you can make it overlay, depending on how strong you want it. I think soft light works a little better than the overlay. And there. That is your first scene finished. Moving on to scene 2, we are going to drag in this image of Buckingham Palace that I have. And drag it into the assets. I'm just going to call it Palace because for the sake of that. And we're going to go to scene 1, duplicate the background layer here. And before anything, I'm going to hide the palace layer. I'm going to go back to scene 1. And we are going to quickly rip the concrete and concrete mat layer. Move it to the start. And we're going to press U on our keyboard. And we're just going to get rid of these keyframes. And we are going to move the mat into the center. So come to here and go proportional grid. And you can see this center line here. So after dragging it into the center, you can get rid of the proportional grid. And we are just going to drag the scale out. So we're going to go to the path and select the path points. And we're just going to pull it up to the edges on both sides. Press G on our keyboard, select both, go to about here. And because there's not enough image, we can just scale up the concrete mat to fit. So that's good. Proportional grid, check again. Is it centered? A little bit off. Cool. Now it is in the center. We can select our palace layer again, and we are just going to scale it down and then solo it. So this one is going to be this part of it. So this square here. And we're going to get this palace main. Press G on our keyboard, and we are just going to mask around this top bit here. Doesn't have to be perfect. Quite literally like that. And then we're going to right click, then to anchor point, duplicate it, get rid of that, and we're just going to call this palace roof. And then we can quickly do this. So I'm going to mask around the roof like so. This, nothing crazy. Like so, and then back here, and then this is going to be the roof piece. And press M on our keyboard because it's still a little blue, and we're just going to go -1 on the mask expansion, so then you don't see as much of the blue from the sky. Okay, so after doing the roof, see we now have these pieces. We're going to just duplicate it again, delete the mask, and we're just going to call this palace left. Solo it, and we are just going to cut around the left part of the image. Good, and you'll notice there is still blue of the sky in between these little bollards. So we're going to go color key, linear color key, drag it on, and then click this little color, and then it will get rid of that. And we can make it this value as low as possible with getting rid of the most, so it should be 5. Sweet. And then duplicate this again. Get rid of the mask. And then we are just going to mask around the right side of the palace now. Now we have all of our sections of building split up. Just over that bit a little bit more. And I'm going to move the palace left and right below the main, and then keep the roof on the top. And the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to quickly hide all the rest of the parts. We're going to do a nice pop-up position animation for this part. So to animate the palace's main like bounce up, position up, we're going to first search up path into the thing, and we're going to animate the mask path. Press U on our keyboard, and then come to just before 1 second, and click these 2 top points, and then drag downwards. And we're going to right click, keyframe assistant, easy ease, and then go to the graph editor, and then make it a really sharp L1. It should come up like this. And then after this, we're going to press P on our keyboard, animate position, press U to open up our keyframes, and then match the final position one with the path one. We're going to have it start about down here, then right click, keyframe assistant, easy ease again. We're going to have it start like this. So it looks something like that. It's pretty slow, so I'm going to select all of our keyframes, hold Alt and click, and then drag. So it looks like that. And then we're going to copy this position keyframe and then paste it. Then move it to about there. And then we're going to come to the one we just copied and put this a little bit higher. Highlight our keyframes, right click, keyframe interpolation, go to the auto bezier part and make it linear. Then graph editor again, and then just make it regular, something like this. So it looks like this. And what we're going to do is first shorten it a little bit more. And then we're going to copy this keyframe. Then have this one pasted about there. Then have this be a little bit of a bounce downwards. And this is just going to be the exact same. So it looks like that. Maybe even a bit less. I think it goes a little bit too high. Has a bit too much bounce. Even a bit too much down. So it should be like this. Nice. Just going to hold the keyframes again. Hold Alt and click and drag and make it a little bit shorter. Nice. And then what we're going to do, press R on our keyboard to bring up rotation. Animate the rotation. We're just going to come to this point. We're going to make it -4. Then as it falls down here, we're going to make it 1. Then come here and make it 0. We're going to right click, keyframe assistant, easy ease. Then the graph we're going to do is a little bit different. We're going to select this point, drag it all the way to the left. Then this one's going to be a bit like a mountain or a spearhead like that. And then this one's also going to be like a mountain. It should look like this. I think there needs to be a little bit more here, so I'm going to make it 2. Then it comes out like that. Nice, I think that's good. And then I'm going to move these points a little bit inwards. Nice. I think that comes out nice and nice speed. Looks good. Okay, that's that part done. After this main section being done, we're going to make the palace right and palace left position visible. And we're going to go to the rectangle tool, get rid of the stroke, and make it a nice deep red or a matte. And we are just going to highlight over the entirety of the left palace. And then we're going to call this left matte. We're going to put it over here. Then we're going to make the palace left alpha matte. And unsolo it. And then convert this to a Bezier path. Type path in here. Animate the path. So the first thing comes up. And then about here it will start. And then after that I'll have the right one come out a little bit. So then that's going to be the last part. I'm just going to drag it like this. And then right click. Keyframe assistant. Easy ease. Then I'm going to make it like that. I think this comes out a bit late, so it should come out about here. Select all these keyframes again. Should come out like that. Seems to be a bit of a delay with it. So I think I'm also going to just do a position animation on this one. I'm going to do that. And then like that. Right click, keyframe assistant, easy ease. And then a sharp one should be nice. I think it just needs to be a bit quicker. So I'm going to take both of these keyframes, select them, hold Alt and click and drag inwards. A little bit too fast for me. A little outwards, and then I think it needs to be a little bit more in for the position. So it looks like that. Nice. And then we're basically just going to do the same thing for the right ones. Now for the roof part, we're going to make the layer visible and move over here because I want it to start here. And again, we are going to create a new matte for it. So just solo the layer and like so, do this, move a little lower, that. Sweet, we're going to center the anchor point. We're just going to call this roof matte. Do that, move the point there. And then animate the path. Have it end about there. Then select these two keyframes like so. Then right click, keyframe assistant, easy ease, and we're going to graph edit it like this. So that should come up like that. And then now I want to firstly make it a little bit shorter. And then we are going to position animate it. So press P on our keyboard, move the keyframe there. Then have it come from down. About there is good. going to right click, easy ease, and we're going to make this a really sharp graph. And again, copy that, and then come to about here. I'm going to have this one go up quite a bit higher, like that, maybe a little bit more. And then bear in mind with this, then you have to make the mat a little bit bigger. And we're going to keep the graph for this part the same. And then we're going to copy this point again and then have it pasted here. And then this part is going to be a little bit down here. And then we're just going to keep it the same like that. Okay, I think I want the path to be a bit slower. So I'm just going to drag it out to about here by holding Alt and clicking. And then what I'm simply going to do is press R on our keyboard, then animate the rotation. So here, I'm going to make it -4, then here, +2, and then here, 0. I'm going to right click, easy ease, and then graph it. So first graph is going to be a nice sharp one like we did with the position. And then this one's going to be all the way like that. And then the last one is just kept the same. Now what I'm going to do is go to the first scene and grab the red star and yellow square that we had. Just copy them and then paste them in here. And we're going to have it start about here, I think. So as the left palace part comes out, I want the yellow square to start. Drag them all the way to the end and then put this in the corner right here. Then drag it below the palace left. And then with the red star, I'm going to increase the scale. So I'm going to select these 2 points on the keyframe and just drag it up here. And then that's also going to go below here. And then as the right one finishes, I'm just going to move that there. Then move it over here. And then I'm going to put this below even the concrete texture. Again, we're basically just going to make another scribble down here. So I'm going to press G or select the pen tool, get rid of the fill, make the stroke black, and then have it to be anywhere from 0.5 to 1. I'm going to have it on 1. We're basically just going to draw a shape down to here, like that. Like a very large S curve, like so. Have it finish here. Maybe a bit like that. A bit like that. And then name it scribble. And then move it all the way at the bottom. And we are going to go to scene 1, go to the scribble. I'm just going to copy the keyframes for it. So we can have it, see now you see it will come out like so. And then almost done with this scene, I'm going to again copy the coin from this scene and just paste it in. And you're going to have it start from the very beginning of the scene because you want it to basically just look like it's coming straight in from the other scene, like you saw in the example. Have it drag it along. Sweet. If it stops about there, that's fine. I guess we can just pull it a little bit further along. Sweet. And then lastly, for this scene again, we're just going to take all the source from this, go from top to bottom, Control C, and then Control V into our layer. Then this is what we are left with. Now onto the final scene. We are just going to again duplicate the background so you have a white background. Just gonna make it the same duration. Trim comp to work area, nice. And then we are going to drag in our images. So just this art gallery image, just the House of Commons and Big Ben. So with masking something like this, there is a really good shortcut you can do. So when you're close to the building like this, you can just make sure when there's like a bush, for example, or this here, make sure you're up against the thing you want to mask. And then with the sky, you can just roughly mask it because of the effect we'll add. You'll understand in just a moment. And go all the way down, and then mask. Right click, transform, and then center the anchor point. And we're going to get the effect linear color key. Throw it on here. And we're just going to solo it. And then you're going to come here and select the white. And then also get the blue out. So like that. Or you could duplicate it by Control D. And then hide it. And then make sure you select the color here that's still there. Okay. You get about 2. Should be able to see it's all gone now. It saves you time having the mask really detailed around things like this. And then what we're going to do is position it over here, scale it down, position it about here. We'll actually mask off this edge bit here. I think it would look better without that bit. Then put it here, and then we're going to go to the first scene and grab the grid mat and grid paper again. Put this at the bottom, and then drag it to the full length. Press U on our keyboard and delete the keyframes. Then just move this about here. And we're just going to press G on our keyboard. Oh wait, we're going to go into the grid mat and go contents, and then convert it to a Bezier path. Press G on our keyboard and just expand it slightly. All the way just to about here. And then I'm also just going to make it slightly more tilted. And then less this way. So it's a bit like that. And then we're going to do a quick path animation for it. Okay, so what I've done here is just expanded the mask out and made it a sharp curve. So it comes out like that. And then the next thing we are going to do is cut out the Big Ben. So we're going to make it visible and then solo that and make it the same scale as that one. And just come over here, do a really rough mask of the Big Ben, avoiding this bush here. So what I can do now is go onto the House of Commons layer or the building layer and Control C, the linear color key, and go to the Big Ben and Control V it. Then I'm just going to take this second one and Control D to duplicate it. And then I'm just going to click the little thing and click the last bit of color there to get rid of it. And then now I'm going to unsolo it. And because we're using a white background, we don't need to put a fill behind this to get the white color back. I'm just going to increase the scale quite a bit. And then throw it on the end here. And then I'm going to take the art gallery layer and scale it down. And then what I'm going to do is mask around the building here, but then duplicate it and then create another mask for the dome here. So pressing G on our keyboard again, just going to do this. I'm just going to cut in the footage because I've been over this about 4 times in this tutorial now. And it's the same thing over and over again. So I'll see you in a second. So now that I've masked the art gallery, I'm going to Control D it and then delete the mask here. And then just mask around the dome. Name this art gallery dome. Now with that done, you can parent the dome to the art gallery layer and we can just scale this down and then fit it in here. And then now you're going to unparent the art gallery dome layer for when we animate it later. Okay, and we're going to hide the art gallery layers. And now we're going to create a mat for the House of Commons layer. Okay, and now with that done, call it mat. Then we are going to alpha mat that, and then again, type path into here. Animate the path, ends about there, and then highlight the points. I'm just going to right click, keyframe assistant, easy ease, and then animate the graph like so. So it looks like this. So to animate the Big Ben layer, I'm going to position it to where I want it to be. And we're going to type up path, and we're going to mask path animate it again, and move it to about here, and then take these 2 points, and basically just put them all in the corner. So that one goes there at the start, that one goes there, this one goes here, and then that one goes here. I'm going to right click, keyframe assistant, easy ease, and we're just going to have it come out and be really sharp, like that. And then after that, we're going to position animate it. So press P on our keyboard again, animate the position, move that point so it's a little bit before, then we're going to have it come out and pop up really high, using the 12 principles, so it's like that. And then we are basically just going to copy this and then paste on this part here, and then have this bit be really high like that. We're going to right click again, keyframe interpolation, make it from auto bezier to linear again. Okay, so for these two new points, we're going to graph edit them and change them to be like a mountain. So it's like this, so it comes out and down again with a thud. And then we are going to add the effect CC bend it, and we are going to have it start here and then end here. And then you'll have it come out 0, then to the first point, and go to 19 maybe. I think 15 is good, and then we're going to go to this point, and it's going to bend backwards. So to maybe -8, and then it ends at 0, of course. We're going to right click again, keyframe assistant, easy ease, and then this graph is going to be a little bit different. So we're going to take this point like that, and then this one again like that, and then keep the last one the same. So it comes out, bends, and then comes down, bends the other way, and then goes back to normal. Let's have a look at what we've done. I think it's a little bit harsh. So I'm going to have it go to -4. It looks like that. I think it should be like that. Let's just stretch it out a little bit. So select all of our layers, hold Alt and click. So we have this now. And then it comes back down, shakes the other way, and then good. So I'm just going to take these 2 points and just drag them like this and see if this changes it. I think that's a little bit better. Nice. So it looks like all these points are really random, but if you just look carefully, you can line them up. Okay, now we can do the art gallery and dome. So what we're going to do, we're going to find out when we want to have it start coming up. So I want it to start coming up when the Big Ben hits the ground again, so about here. Just going to move those layers to here. And again, going to use a matte for the art gallery because there are so many mask points. It would just be such a hassle to mess around with it. So go around again. At the start, and then type path in. Animate the path. If you're watching this the first time, you're probably going to be really confused at what I'm doing and very overwhelmed. That's completely normal. But once you do it a few times, you'll realize these are just very similar techniques used in different ways just to create a similar product. Like it's basically the same techniques over and over again, just utilized differently. With that matte done, we are going to animate the dome now. So it's going to come up, and then about here, I'm going to have the dome start. And press P on our keyboard for the dome. Then have it end about here, and then have it start down below. Make sure you put the layer behind it. So about here, it will start maybe a little bit lower so it's not peeking out. Right click, keyframe assistant again, easy ease. Then have it like this. Going to come out like that, and we're just going to quickly make a copy of this, and then have this one go higher again to about there. Make sure you make it a linear interpolation. It comes out like that, and it comes back down. Going to get on this layer again, copy again, then paste it over here, and have this one go a tiny bit downwards, and then make this one on the graph the exact same. So it should look like this. What I'm going to do is press R on our keyboard, animate the rotation, have it here. We're just going to have a really subtle tilt, so maybe -4 to +2, and then back down to 0. keyframe assistant, easy ease again. Just going to copy the graph so it goes sharp, sharp, normal. Maybe even make this one a spiked bit. I think I prefer that. So it goes sharp and then a mountain and then a normal keyframe graph. So that's that bit done. Okay, so now we are going to go to scene 2 and we're going to duplicate the coin and paste it in, have it start, and we're just going to find where it hits here, then put this behind all of the layers. I'm also going to move up the grid mat a little bit because I've just realized looks a bit funny with the coin rolling in, and the coin is going to hit here and stop. So what we're going to do, get rid of the keyframes we already have, turn the rotation back to 0. So we're going to start the rotation off at minus 180. So then when it comes in, it will roll, it will continue rolling, but not look too fast. So we're going to animate the position and to have it off screen. So it comes in and then should hit here. Gonna keep it about there. And then what we're gonna do, just keyframe them, easy ease, and then copy these keyframes and then paste them again. We're going to have it bump a little bit to the left with the x-axis and then have it go to about 9 on here. We're just going to highlight the position keyframes and make it linear again, and you should have something that looks like this. I think 9 is a bit too much, so we're going to make it 6. See if that's a little bit better. I think that is better. We are just going to come into the graph editing on this last section here. We're going to select both points and make it like a mountain. So it's like that. So it comes in, picking up speed, and then boom. And then we are also just going to spread it out a little more. So highlight them, hold Alt and click, and then drag out. Almost done. We're going to add a yellow circle and a red star again. So we're going to hold click on the shape tool and then go to the ellipse and then go FFCC00 to bring up a nice yellow. Hold shift, click, make a nice yellow shape. We're going to drag this below everything. So it comes out about here, maybe a little bit overlapping. We can increase the size, like so, just about that big. Whoops. And then yellow circle. We're going to have it start coming out about here. So this is where we can just quickly rip the scale animation off scene 1. So go to the yellow square and then copy these parts and then paste them in here. This will save us a lot of time. You should always do time saving measures wherever you can. Time is everything. Something I've learned very recently. Just like that. And then lastly, going to get the red star again and copy it in here. And put this a little bit after it. Then position it about here. Then we're going to highlight these last 2 points and increase the scale by quite a bit. So it should look like this. So it comes in. Okay, I want the dome to be a little bit later now. So I'm just going to move these points a little bit further along. So it's like this. Then the last thing for the scene we're going to do is press the pen tool, get rid of the fill again, and then make a black stroke. And then we're just going to make a random shape. I'm just going to do like a curl around the scene, like so. Hold Alt on our keyboard and click the points to make them curved. Like so. Move it like this. So it's something like that. And then we can just move it however we want. Scale it down a bit. Like so. Just going to call this scribble again. And put this right at the back. And maybe even scale it down a little bit more. Like that. We are just going to come to season 2, go to the scribble, and we're going to copy and paste the trim paths onto this again. So now if we have a look, it will start to draw as we're animating, as the rest of the scene is animating. I think I'll make this point a little bit more curved as well. And then as always, the final thing you're going to do is come to this and then copy the source from the first scene or whatever scene you want. You now have your collage animation done. If you found this tutorial a little more confusing, don't worry, it is a more complex skill to learn. And also, I don't think I did a great job explaining it because it was just a lot of copying. But ultimately, when you're doing something consistent of a style, you should be copying throughout the scenes. I think consistency is important, and I really enjoy symmetry and the same style over and over. And yeah, this is now your collage animation scenes done. Thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed, please subscribe and drop a like. And if you want to see any tutorials, please suggest them in the comments below. And lastly, any socials or relevant links will be in the description below. And thank you for watching, and I'll see you next video. See ya.